welcome to the History Hotline, the hottest line for all things Black history and beyond. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 51 of the History Hotline. My name is Deanna Lynn Cook, and if this is the first time you joining us on the History Hotline, then welcome. If you've come back from past episodes, then thank you so much. I hope you will enjoy this one as much as you've enjoyed others. Now today I am joined by a very special guest. I'm so excited for this episode because it's the start of, I think, a beautiful partnership that I've been really excited to announce for a long time between myself and the History Hotline, of course, and Kayleigh Oliver, who is my guest today. I am very, very excited to have on the podcast, honestly. So excited.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. Honestly, it's literally a pleasure. Now, Kayleigh, I'm going to read her bio out and kind of tell you a little bit more about her, and you obviously will speak shortly and you can find out more about Kayleigh. But just to let you know, Kayleigh's from an app called FOBBS, which stands for Figures of Black British Society. And you might be thinking, oh, okay, yep, now this is making sense. And when I say Kayleigh's from the app, obviously she's not like from the app. She actually created this app, and it's in the process of being created right now. And the History Hotline, me, because I am the History Hotline, we're working together to kind of create content for this app and for, you know, the purposes and the kind of plans that Kayleigh has for it. And I just think it's so fascinating and like amazing because, you know, having the spheres of tech and like history coming together to kind of do this for me is phenomenal. And I'm so thankful that you reached out, Kayleigh, in order to do this. Now, before we come to you, I'm going to read out a bit about you, Kayleigh. Just tell the viewers, listeners, a little bit about your background and kind of how you stumbled into the world of apps that celebrate Black British figures. Kayleigh Oliver is a mom of two, small business owner and development professional with over 14 years' experience in development and testing roles within award-winning tech companies. She currently works as a quality assurance and release manager for a virtual reality company. Day to day, she manages a team of QA engineers, which she has hired, continues to mentor and train. In the last 2 years, she's been featured in both Forbes and the Financial Times, achieved an AWS Cloud Practitioner Certificate whilst on maternity leave, and was a finalist for the UK Black Tech Achievement Social Good Award, and was recently named one of the 50 most inspiring women in tech in the UK, which is just fantastic. Kayleigh's also the founder and developer of the app company Junction 5 Studios. Junction 5 creates its own IP and also helps entrepreneurs and small businesses to build deeper relationships and connect more and grow their communities using apps. Because of her first-hand experience at being a minority in the tech space, Kayleigh is passionate about helping and encouraging women and other Black people into the tech industry. She started this by sharing on her own website, guest posting, and speaking at events. She intends to use Junction 5 to help further this cause, and with her latest project, Figures of Black British Society, which is FOBBS and what we're here to speak about today. Honestly, it's a pleasure to have you here. You have achieved so much in the tech space, and you know, I think you're definitely the first tech, I'm going to call you a techie person on this podcast, but I think by the time we're through with this episode, the listeners will understand why it was so important to have you here today and listen to what you have to say around tech and history and how we can merge these two spaces. So I thought we'd start with a little quick fire question round. I subject all my guests to this, so I'm sorry. I've only got 4 questions for you. But my first question is just to develop a little bit on your bio and what I've explained about you in your own words. What do you currently do?
Also, I currently work as a QA and release manager for a virtual reality company. That's my day job. But in the evening, after putting the kids to sleep, I work on my apps for Junction 5 Studios. So I will be creating the FOBBS app. And at the moment, it's just building out all of the architecture and trying to populate a few of the content, really. So I'm learning a lot about history and historical figures that just we weren't exposed to as children really, and like just anywhere. But yeah, that's what I'm doing, sort of, and building up a team to sort of help build out this really big project that sort of started as a small idea last year when I was on maternity leave in lockdown, and I was thinking, what can I do as my next project for Junction 5, but also that can help my children sort of realise where they've come from and sort of look at their heritage and sort of inspire them. And I realised there was nothing still in the education system that sort of filled that gap. There are a few things, and obviously Wales have said that they're going to introduce more sort of minority educational subjects into their curriculum, but obviously Scotland and England are behind. And poor teachers, I mean, they're trying to fill the gap, but they haven't got the time to do it. So I thought this would be a great way to selfishly give my children something, but also gives back something to all Britons, really, to sort of fill their educational gap about Black British historical figures, because there is hardly any information about like British figures as opposed to American ones. And yeah, just give teachers a break and just help in hand with like a supplementary resource that would be easy for them to use and just like slot into their lesson plans.
Absolutely. Honestly, it will be a fantastic tool utilised by many, I'm sure. And why do you love history then? Why history?
So I'm going to be slightly controversial and say I never really liked history. I dropped history as fast as I could in year 9, mainly because, and this is not because I didn't like reading, because I lived at the library when I was little. Like I actually, just went through all of the sections, but I just didn't see myself really in the history that we were learning. We learned about the Tudors, we learned about the Stuarts, we learned about Caecilius and like in like Latin and stuff, and none of those people looked like me. And then when we did learn about Black history, it was slavery, and it's just nothing that sort of grabbed me. I wanted to read more about. And I feel like if I was exposed to positive and, well, just not even positive, but just more Black British history and stuff that would inspire me, and things that people that I would see and think, right, they look like me, they're actually doing things, I would have actually been more engrossed and eager to learn about history. But as I say, as I'm learning more and digging deeper because of this app and research and everything, I am learning about more figures, and I'm just like, wow, they were in hard times and look what they achieved and struggled with, and I don't know how I could have done that. And I'm feeling more I'm impacted more by what I read now, and I just feel like I just missed out on that when I was little, unfortunately. So yeah, that's what I want this to do.
Absolutely. No, that makes complete sense. And I think it's something that generations of students, not just Black students, have said, as adults now, as even older people, down to kind of my generation and even lower, because it's kind of only more recently that some teachers are starting to pull these things into the curriculum. And thankfully, hopefully we won't see another generation of students kind of going through this. But without any government change, as you've mentioned, like how can we kind of hope for this? But let's ask you about, so you've been doing all this research for your app. Do you now have a favourite historical time period?
When I look back on it, I think I like thinking about Egypt, because they're more like non-white people in there, so you could sort of see yourself in them. And like I think I had like a little gold, like, is it Nefertiti like necklace when I was little, like the one that everyone has, and I always looked at that thinking, oh, she looks lovely, like she looks like me. So I think that's what sort of made me gravitate towards that sort of period. But other than that, no, not yet. But I am sure I'll be able to come back on and talk to you about a favourite period soon.
Definitely. And of all the figures then so far of the FOBBS app,
it's hard to be honest, but I think just there was a lot, as I said, there was just a lot of struggles and challenges that Black individuals have faced through history, where they were, well, obviously they're the only one because there's quite a lot of onlyness now, but they were really alone, and there was a lot of overt racism and like negativity towards them. And I feel like every individual that I've read has that struggle, but they've still sort of achieved a lot, and they're all inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the it's a great thing about Black British history, but then the sad thing, because we don't know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. I think Black people migrating to Britain, it did carry so much racial tension and problems that it has led to, you know, a lot of these histories being of struggle and strife. And I think when you think about, say, the Egyptians, there's a lot less of that. You know, it's prosperous. You think about the wealth, the opulence, the gold, the jewels. Whereas when we think about Caribbean people in Britain in the 40s and 50s, it's just completely, you know, different worlds. So yeah, well, we need to definitely, I think, something I'm quite passionate about now, and hopefully I can do some more of, is looking at more happy histories and positive stories, because, you know, there's a lot of racism and it really does weigh you down at times. But I thought I'd talk to you about this kind of idea of merging Black history and tech. And you've spoken about, you know, why you decided to create this app kind of for your children. And, you know, you said it selfishly, but, you know, if it's for your children, it will be for everyone's children too, once it's, you know, made available. And was it just the fact that you hadn't been able to have this history and this education yourself, and you could kind of didn't want to see your children go through the same thing, that inspired you to do this? Or, you know, were there other factors? Did, I don't know, 2020, BLM and all that kind of stuff impact you at all, or had you already started by then?
It's actually really coincidental, because I came up with the idea around April 2020, and then I sent around a questionnaire to like my small network to find out, well, it just to validate it, to see like if this is just me. And so I found quite quickly that there was a knowledge gap really still in the education system, because my friend's got like a 9-year-old, and apparently he's still learning little bits, but not a great amount. And then obviously surveying the people that are sort of up to my age, finding that they don't remember much about the Black history, and usually it's American history that they learn. So great, validated the idea in about April, and then George Floyd's murder happened, and then Black Lives Matter protests and everything since like May onwards. And I found that, so I was continuing to do this, and then I found that more interviews were being conducted with celebrities and just like people in news, and everyone was actually saying that, why don't we get taught about Black British history? Like, where is it? Why are we still not learning about it? So it was, as I say, really sort of well timed that this was happening. Really awful thing that happened, but it woke up society, especially Britons, to think, right, why haven't we got this history? And the fact that we didn't have it, maybe it could have made a positive impact on how Black Britons are being treated, and just sharing the culture, really. So yeah, that's why I did it, really.
No, that makes sense. And I think it, for me, seeing, you know, during that time as well, people that had ideas about anything to do with Black history or race or anti-racism and like social justice, that was kind of like a push to say, you know what, this is it, you know, this is the momentum. People are more kind of awake to these kinds of conversations, and people are having them, so get into it.
Yeah, I definitely think that, yeah, as you say, last year was a push, and everyone was more willing and open to talk about the racial issues that exist everywhere. And I think the world's a bit more aware that it's not just racial issues that are in America, that like Black Britons have very real problems as well. And yeah, I think that although it does seem to be dying down a lot now, I mean, we're like over a year after it, and whilst it's October Black History Month now, so like a lot of companies are sort of still sort of clawing at it, but after like from November till next year, like, will there be anything? And I feel like some of the companies might just be grasping at, like, jumping onto a bandwagon. But, you know, I mean, the people within those companies now are, as you say, more awake and aware of it. So it's up to everyone to sort of keep driving that change and making the conversation. So hopefully it will sort of start a movement and start change and push us into the right direction.
Yes, definitely. I think so too. And I think even this Black History Month have been a bit quieter than last year's. It feels maybe just in these spaces, but already momentum seems to be kind of dying. But I think a good thing that I've seen is that people have taken this momentum into their kind of workspaces or their own private worlds, and they're attacking from inside their kind of institutions or corporations. So I guess we might not see the big performative stuff, which I guess isn't a problem, but hopefully that means people are within their institutions kind of burrowing away at the kind of systemic failures there. But, you know, building an app, to me, that's a foreign world. I don't even know where you even start. Like, what do you even do? How did you kind of select and put together a team, essentially, or a group of people to be able to do this? Or are you a one-woman band?
So, no, I do have a team of people working with me, but I do develop the app by myself. And the team sort of found me, really. As I say, I was trying to validate the idea, and I was reaching out to a load of people on LinkedIn late last year in different industries just to find out who wanted it, really. And a number of people started saying, oh yeah, I'd like to be on the team. Didn't have a team at the time. So I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So I started to have to sit down and actually think, like, what would this look like and how could I grow it? So I sort of formed a core team initially. So it was like 2 or 3 people. And then as we've sort of grown, I've gotten contacted by a couple of organizations saying that we've got like volunteers that want to help out at, so not-for-profit or like social good projects. And because I fit into that, applied for them. And a lot of people sort of gave their time really, really willingly, because they, obviously on the back of what happened last year, they're aware of it as well, and they're just willing to just help out and make the change. So we've had like a website designer, graphic designer, social media manager come in, and then just random people helping out in small ways. A number of teachers as well have sort of given their time, and other like historical experts, as I say, have said that they'll sort of be willing to help out. And yeah, it's been really, really good to not have to do it all by myself, because like creating the app is, it's not, I'm saying it's not difficult. It's not technically difficult, the architecture behind it. Like it's not anything like the company's tech that I work with day to day. But it is something that's more complex than what I'm usually making. And because I'm conscious that it's going to be used by like schools and like children, I have to put in more effort into that. So having all these people around me supporting is really, really handy, because now I can just focus on making like a really robust and good product.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes complete sense. It takes a village, I think, with all projects. Have you faced any challenges so far, or has it been fairly smooth?
Yeah, no, there's definitely always challenges. Initially, I would say that the biggest challenge, because I'm kind of new to like business and say working with a team. So trying to organize everyone was quite difficult, because everyone's volunteering their time, even like I'm doing everything voluntarily. So it's a kind of a sort of a give and a take about what you can ask from people and just what to expect. So learning more about project management and like people skills really, and just, yeah, communication. So that's obviously really key. The other thing is funding. I spent a lot of time from about like January to about May, I think. That's not a lot, doesn't sound like a lot of time, but funding applications take a lot out of you, and they go in deep with detail, and some of them you can't even copy and paste, and it's a lot. And after doing 4, 5, 7, I can't remember how many I did, I realized that I wasn't going to actually get anywhere with the funding applications. And whilst I was saying to people, oh yeah, it's going to be out in Q4 this year, I wasn't actually building it. So I thought, well, you know what, let me just stop trying to get this money, and I can build it myself. Let me just build it, and then I'll have something to show people, and then we can deal with funding later on, really. Let me just go back to what I was going to do initially.
Yeah,
so yeah,
absolutely. That makes complete sense. Definitely. And so the app is FOBBS, Figures of Black British Society. And how in your ideal kind of way would you like it to be used?
I'd love it to be used as a supplementary resource for teachers, but also for students. So what we've got at the moment is like a search feature. So you've got like a list of the historical figures, and then you'll be able to search by name, by the categories, like the area of specialism. And then we're going to utilize teachers to help us tag up and like write keywords for those figures. So if they were teaching about the Tudor period, we could tag up those figures with Tudors. So students or the teachers would be able to type in Tudors, and then it will return all of those people. So it'd be easier for them to pick up this and to slot them into their lesson plans. Same thing with students. So we'll probably tag them up with probably in ways that they will be keywords that they will be searching for, or just relate it to their interests. I really want to make it linked to the user as well. So we're going to we're going to sort of like find out what they're interested in. So mainly sort of tag to their subjects, and then it would sort of spit out the figures that they are sort of more related to. So they'll be more inclined to learn about it. So not forcing them to learn, but if you see someone that you're in an area that you want to go into, then you'd be like, oh, let me just read about this person. And I think that will be key to helping to inspire them into those roles and into those sort of fields, because it's hard enough trying to find that information. So I thought if you just give it to them, then it would be a lot easier for them to sort of learn about them and be inspired as well. So yeah, some supplementary educational resource and sort of recreational as well.
Absolutely. So we're kind of like tying together and marrying the ideas of like, yeah, being educated, but also being inspired. And
yes.
I think that's why we've called for, all these figures to be spoken about and taught, because they are so inspiring, not just to Black children, but to all children, because, on top of everything else, for the most part, they've also had to overcome racial issues. And that kind of adversity in some cases has, spurred them on to greatness. So definitely feels like this is so necessary. In terms of FOBBS, you've said you've given it a rest with funded applications, but you're kind of plowing through. What's next? How far are you with it all? And I guess if there's a teacher here listening now that's like, oh, I want to get involved, or I want to sign up my school, how can they do that?
Okay, so it's very close to being done. There was a few issues that have sort of delayed me, but the app, at the moment, the app can be used. We're sort of tying in a bit of the terms to make sure that it's appropriate for the children to use, because we are sort of catering for children from the ages of 5 to 16. The content should be age agnostic, and also applicable for those different ages. So we need to make sure that it's all like legal. But teachers can sign up straight away to the beta of the app at the website. So that's FOBBS, so FOBBS.uk. And then if you go to the bottom, you sign up to the mailing list, and that will sign you up to the mailing list, which will be talking to you about the beta trial when it's going to be coming out. But I'm thinking in the next month, because I am so picky with how it looks and everything, it probably will be done by then, and then we'll be reaching out to schools to make sure that we can properly go through the proper steps and then start using it really.
And for anybody that wanted to help out, or I don't know, if there's someone here with some crazy expertise, what would your capacity be for them, or is there anything
I am happy to have all the help anyone can give me really. Yeah, so if you are like looking to sort of add to the project, as I say, just send me an email probably, hello@fobbs.uk, and then we can arrange a chat really, just see how you can help.
Absolutely, sounds good. And then where can we find FOBBS online, social media, or yourself to kind of, I guess, follow the progress and, be ready when it does drop?
Yeah, sure. So, as I said, if you go to the website, so fobbs.uk, that will just that's like our main landing page at the moment, gives you an overview of what we're going to try and build, and sign up to the mailing list there. We're also on Instagram and sharing like bits of information there, just to give you sort of like teasers as to what will be in the app. We're also on LinkedIn, and we give like weekly quizzes to like just give you a brief bit of information about figures, Black figures, both current day and historical ones. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. That's probably the best way to contact me. And yeah, as I say, I'm more than happy to answer any questions or any queries about anything about FOBBS really. If you've got any recommendations as well, specific historical figures you want featured, or time periods that might be useful to research, I'm more than happy to look into those.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kayleigh. That has been like a whistle-stop tour throughout FOBBS, and everything that it's kind of aiming to do is perfectly in line with, I think, a lot of the listeners that we have here and what they would like to see for their children, or, for their past self when they were in school. I think the app was going to be brilliant. There's no other way. And I hope that, if you're listening now to this podcast, sign up if you're a teacher and that's how that's going to work for you, or on social media to follow the journey and just to support this, because if this support doesn't come from us who are attuned to these histories and the kind of dearth of them in society and in the mainstream, if we don't support, then who is going to? And if we don't support and show others that this support is necessary because these apps are needed, then who will? So please, if you can and you're listening, please do reach out, support. Words of encouragement are always wonderful as well. You can never know how far they will go sometimes. So please do support that if you are listening. But Kayleigh, thank you so much for explaining everything about FOBBS. Hopefully you'll be back soon with a favourite historical figure and definitely a completed app that we can all start using and kind of learning even more about history, because honestly, I think I do everything on my phone, and to have history at the touch of your fingertip, it would be fantastic, definitely, especially for the younger generation who definitely
live on them.
Phone.
Yes.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Kayleigh. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Goodbye from both of us.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the History Hotline. If you've enjoyed this episode, please tell a friend to tell a friend. To continue the conversation about Black history, head over to our social media platforms at the History Hotline on Instagram and at the History HL on Twitter.